Welcome to the Story Apothecary, a podcast filled with healing and medicinal stories. My name is Nana Tomova, and I'm a traditional storyteller and a pharmacist, and stories are medicines which I dispense. In this podcast, you'll find my prescriptions of stories for the body, mind, heart, soul, and for the earth. So I invite you to join me as we enter the healing world of stories together. Hello, and a very, very warm welcome again into the Story Apothecary. We are now in May. I can't believe how quickly the spring has come. The hawthorn is out. I listened to the dawn chorus on the 1st of May, and it was beautiful. There are nightingales close to where I live, one of the very few places in the UK which has them. It was so wonderful to hear them in the morning at dawn. We woke up at 4:30. And throughout the night also those beautiful nightingales sang. The night singers, as their name is known in Old English. I love this time of year. I love the return of the light, how much nature grows. I love the rituals and celebrations of the spring. They are so rich and so beautiful. From the May Day celebrations to the Beltane celebrations that happen around here, to all the May Day celebrations that happen in Bulgaria and the countries surrounding that. The ones where they pray for rain, the ones where the women dance, full of green leaves so the heavens may open and shed some water to the parched earth. Where I live, there's a lot of rain, but I think about the places where the sun is so strong. I think about the people who live in such high temperatures at the moment, just in May, and how important those rituals are. And how important it is for the community to come together and hope for the rains to come. And how it is the bringing in of people together for a common cause, which is full of desire for something nourishing and hope for a better future, which is so powerful. And with the springtime, I'm just feeling my energy coming back. I was like the fields laying fallow for a long time, very little energy, and I decided to peel things back, just so I can regain my strength. And it's really nice to have been able to do that. The story for today that I wanted to share with you is a Bulgarian folk tale. I came across this one, translated it last year, and so I'm really excited to share it with you. There are similar stories across Europe, certainly, probably the world. I know there's the Jewish story, which is very, very similar to this one, in one of my Jewish folktale books. So this story is about advice. Now, it's a Bulgarian story, and Bulgarians love to give advice. It's a generalization, but most Bulgarians who I know stick to this rule. They like to give advice. They like to feel helpful, and they do it out of care and love. But advice when it's not wanted, well, it's not taken. It's rather annoying. And so the story is about how when we pay for advice, we may remember it, and how a relationship with advice is quite different depending on how we choose to get it and whether we choose to accept it. Now, something about advice that I decided to stick to a long time ago is that I always ask permission before I give it. I do this in my clinical practice. I do this with friends and family. I will ask if they would like advice before I impose it upon them. And that way there is an offering and an acceptance. And I think that's what's so beautiful about advice given. It's given with consent and permission. And so the story is about that, but also there's a little bit of humour in it. It's also fun. It's a folk tale rather than a magical wonder tale or a myth. And so it's about day-to-day dealings with ordinary people, like me, like you maybe. I hope you enjoy it. It's called The Paid Advice. There once lived a man and his wife, and soon after they were married, a son was born to them. They were so poor. They had no money to buy him clothes. They had no money to buy him food. They had no money to keep him warm. And so the man looked for work. He looked everywhere, but he couldn't find any that paid well. And the ones that he could find, they expected him to break his back and not give him any money. And so he decided to travel to far lands to find a job. He travelled for many, many days, and finally he reached a nobleman's house. And this nobleman was very wealthy and kind and wise. And the man became a servant. He became a very faithful servant. He was very good at what he did. And he got paid in time, and he got paid a good amount of money to be able to support his family. And he made friends where he worked, for this nobleman was generous and kind and wise, and he had grown all these riches through hard work. The faithful servant. That's what they called him. That's what he saw himself as, the faithful servant. Oh, he learned so much from this nobleman. He learned the value of kindness, the value of a true word. He learned how to work hard, yes, but also how to laugh, how to have friends. All these things that nobody had taught him when he was younger. And how much he missed his family. He would speak to them in his dreams every night, his son, his wife. And he wrote to them a hand-written letter here and there. The rest of the money he sent home to save as much as he can. He never travelled to see them. Year after year after year after year, he just worked and sent the money home, thinking he was doing the right thing, knowing that this is why he had been there. And this is how it was for quite a while. Time passed with each full moon. Time passed with each fallen leaf, with each flight of a raven's wing, with each call of a nightingale. Another morning passed, and so it was, moon after moon, season after season. 20 summers went by. 20 summers. 20 years. And so on that summer, on that 20th summer, the faithful servant finally decided he wanted to go home and see his family. He had earned enough. His hands now a little rougher, his bones now a little more brittle, his hair now a little greyer, his face full of wrinkles. It was time to go and see his family. He had missed them and he had earned enough, and so he went to tell the news to the nobleman. And the nobleman was very sad, but true to his word, he agreed, of course. He was going to lose one of his best servants, a friend, an advisor now. And so, of course, he was true to his word and began to make the calculations of all the money that he owed. And he decided that from that sum of money that he still needed to give a faithful servant, he was going to hold back 3,000 coin. A lot of money. The faithful merchant was bewildered. Never before had the money been withheld from him. He was always paid on time, and all the other people that worked for this nobleman were also paid on time. The nobleman told the faithful servant that he was going to do something even better than pay him money. He was going to tell him 3 things, 3 wise things, 3 pieces of advice. And the nobleman said to the faithful servant, advice, when given for free, is forgotten, but advice which is paid for is remembered and followed. Well, he could have his 3,000 coin back. That's true, the choice was given. Or he could have this advice. The hard-working man thought long and hard. 3,000 coin, or 3 pieces of advice. Or the money was probably going to be more useful, but something told him to pick the advice. A suggestion, a look, I don't know what it was. But he decided to take the advice. And so he listened. For your first 1,000 gold coins, which I'm withholding from you, I will tell you this. Always take the royal road. Never take the shortcut. Never take the straight path. Always take the royal road. For your second lot of 1,000 coins, I tell you this. Never overeat. eat just enough, but never overeat. And for your third lot of 1,000 coins, I tell you this: always check and double check before you proceed with your actions. And then he set the traveller on his way. And the faithful servant gathered with other friends and began the journey. It was a long journey. They travelled and they travelled until they went to the riverbank of the river Dunav. And then they went into their boats and they crossed the river to the other side. And it was many days left of travel. In front of them was a huge forest, so big and so thick and so dark. It would take them maybe a week to cross this forest. But they saw there was a shortcut for the forest, and they began to walk into the woods through the shortcut. And just as the faithful servant was about to walk in this shortcut, he remembered something. Always take the royal road. But he'd lost 1,000 coins for that. He wasn't just going to ignore it. He was going to take the advice. And so he went a long way, bypassing the whole forest through the royal road. And unbeknownst to him, that piece of advice had saved his life. For his companions had traversed the forest, and in the darkest and thickest part of the forest, just as the sun had set, they were attacked by a gang of robbers who had taken everything they owned, through their money, the clothes on their back, and then they had killed them. The faithful servant carried on. He walked for many days, and there he reached an inn. It looked delicious and smelled divine. And the innkeeper was generous, and he presented him with 10 different plates of food, a tasting menu. Oh, goodness, it was the smell. It was lamb in one dish, and chicken and saffron in another dish, and aubergines and tomatoes and thick sauce. Oh, it was the most delicious food, and every plate was even better than the last. And he ate well, and his belly was filled just to the right amount, and he felt nice and warm and content. And then before him was presented a dish with a silver cover, a platter of dessert, of baklavas and all sorts of divine sweets. Please, the innkeeper, traveller, please. And the faithful servant was just about to open the plate when he remembered: never overeat. Never overeat. What a useless piece of advice. He wanted the dessert. He was full, yes, but oh, he had lost 1,000 coins for this useless piece of advice. The most useless thing he could do now is ignore it. At least he had paid for it. He had paid for it. Couldn't get a refund. And so he listened to the advice and declined politely. And the innkeeper said, "But travelers like you must eat well, because you never know when your next meal is going to come from." Nevertheless, the faithful servant refused. He paid 1,000 coins for this piece of advice. He wasn't just going to waste the money. And unbeknownst to him, that second piece of advice saved his life. For this inn belonged to the same gang of robbers that had killed his companions, and in the plate under the silver cover was a mouse. And when the cover was opened, that mouse would hop up in the air, and the hopping of the mouse would be a signal for murder, a signal for them to kill the traveller. So many travellers had lost their lives at this inn, left their clothes, their riches, their money behind, taken. But without the signal of the mouse, well, everybody was so confused, and they looked at each other and did not know what to do. What did it mean? And so They let him live, let him walk. And so the second piece of advice indeed saved his life yet again. He did not realize it at the time. He walked with a full belly for another number of days, and then he reached the village where he grew up, where he'd married his wife, where his son was born. And he walked and he walked and he saw the house that he'd made with his own two hands with the pink bricks, and there in the garden, digging and planting seeds, was his dear wife. She looked just the same. He was so happy to see her, but she didn't recognize him. Time and hard work had changed him. And so he pretended he was a beggar, and he said to her, "Oh, woman, dear kind woman, would you please bring me some bread, for I am a poor traveller. My feet are sore. I have only these rags on my back. I haven't eaten for days." And so the woman left the garden and went inside the house and brought a few pieces of bread. And he recognized that she was as kind and as loving as he remembered her. And so he told her who he was. She could not believe it at first. Was it really him? And with hands and touch and eyes that wept, she welcomed her husband back home. And they talked, and they smiled, and of course it was him. He had worked away for such a long time, 20 summers. It was almost like they were getting to know each other again. 20 summers. But at that time, a marriage was a marriage. And it bound people in certain ways. An arrangement of practicalities of sorts. There was love, well, it was a bonus. That was not the purpose of a marriage in those days. And so they embraced, and she invited him into the cool of the house, away from the beating sun. He went inside the house, and there, in the living room, under the arches that he had made with his own two hands, into the wooden beams of the beach that he had worked, he saw an unwelcomed guest, a man. His wife had taken a man as her lover during the 20 years that he wasn't there. He just thought about the hard work. He thought about all those days, all these evenings, all the hardship that he had gone, and he forgot everything else. He forgot the last few minutes. He forgot his wife. He forgot the life they had shared. He forgot everything, and just darkness and anger and fury was in front of him. And so, without thinking, almost an instinct, his right hand reached down to his waist and he took out his pistol. He pointed it at the man. He pointed it at the intruder. He pointed it at this cuckold, and just about to pull the trigger. And he remembered. Always check and double check before you proceed with your action. And he put his pistol down and approached the man and looked carefully at his face, his eyes and his hair. And he recognized his son, now grown up. And that third piece of advice had saved his and his son's life. For free advice is usually forgotten and not followed, but the advice which one has to pay for is often remembered. And so that is the story for today. The story of the paid advice. Always take the royal road. Never take a shortcut, even if it seems like a shorter route. Never overeat. Always eat just until you're full, no more. And think again. Consider your actions before you do something. 3,000 coins. Well spent. I wonder how this story relates to you. If there's anything that you think of, or any images that appear in front of your eyes when you listen to it. And those 3 pieces of advice. In what ways, if any, are they useful to you right now? But of course, I'm not suggesting that you take them. You have not asked for them. And so, it is your choice, of course. But I hope this little folk tale has been enjoyable. And it's so lovely to record again after a few months of waiting for the sap to rise within me. Have a wonderful month and enjoy the blossoms, the sunshine, and the bird song. If you enjoy this podcast, you may wish to buy me a coffee or support me on Patreon, the links of which are in the show notes. Thank you to Ing Feathers for the music. Thank you for joining me in a story apothecary. Until we meet again, goodbye.